Yang ji jimbur zirdan nimi yang zone munum jimbur nga gyata bakar dargan zando shirmar to. Tumba tikje janla ki sham tsar mechan rawar seringi jangamsa jawar tikji shanla yilarma. Jime panzo jala sara de gongje topan pawar shinji lo, gongje topan pawar shinji lo, gongje topan pawar shinji.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate sentient beings, please generate bodhicitta before today's teaching. Today we begin teaching the Sutra of Great Liberation. Last year we covered a portion of this sutra. Due to various circumstances, we temporarily paused our teaching. At that time, we had quite a large audience. Now we no longer have online live streaming, nor do we have in-person sessions or other formats. Regarding these teachings, I also do not agree with sharing them back and forth in various chat groups. For now, it's not very convenient, as you all know. Currently, online management is quite strict, and religious teachings need to follow their own legal framework and regulations. So here, we are teaching to just a small group of people, including Tibetan practitioners here and a few technical staff members. We're teaching the Sutra of Great Liberation to them. Actually, this is fine. In the future, everyone should be able to obtain the commentary or other materials through various means. All of these will be available when the time comes. There will be some Khenpos, Khenmos, and I myself will also have opportunities to give the full transmission at once. All of this is possible. So as long as you are diligent, there should be opportunities. Those of us who are present here now and those Dharma friends who will listen in the future should all make great efforts to receive this teaching, because the Sutra of Great Liberation is truly of great importance. It helps us gain liberation from samsara through an especially supreme Dharma teaching. We often say the path rises 1 foot, obstacles rise 10 feet. Worldly obstacles and various hindrances during our practice, these obstacles that arise during cultivation are inevitable phenomena. So there's no need for everyone to feel especially sad or worried. But regardless of circumstances, through different channels, we can obtain these Dharma teachings. We ourselves also understand their meaning. This is what we are pursuing. The goal we seek is precisely this. Starting from this lesson, today and tomorrow we'll teach the Sutra of Great Liberation. Everyone may remember that we previously discussed Bodhisattva, faith in signs. He was originally flowing water, the son of elder flowing water. At that time he saw many fish whose water had dried up. Then he found a way to bring them some water. And then he recited the name of Jewel Crest Buddha. In our version it's Jewel Victory Tathagata. In other versions it's called the Sutra of Golden Light, which has 2 versions. In one of these versions it mentions what we often refer to as the name of Jewel Crest Tathagata. After transmitting this name to them, they all attained rebirth in the heavenly realms. At that time, he asked the Buddha, why did reciting a Tathagata's name once bring such great merit? Could the Buddha extensively teach the names and merits of the 3 jewels? Then the Buddha explained earlier. First teaching the names of the Buddha, jewel, future Buddhas, past Buddhas, and present Buddhas. The names of past, present, and future Buddhas were taught extensively earlier. Then the Buddha also taught the 12 divisions of sutras. The names of the Dharma jewel were also taught. When teaching the Sangha jewel, there were bodhisattvas from the 10 directions. The names of the great bodhisattvas from the 10 directions were all taught. So last time, on October 2nd of last year, I remember that was our final class at that time. It should have been the last class on October 2nd. That was roughly the content we covered. This was the latter part of the first volume. Today we begin teaching the middle volume of the Sutra of Great Liberation through vast Vaipulya for repentance and eradication of sins, leading to adornment and attainment of Buddhahood. In the middle volume at this time, the content connects with what came before. At this point, the Buddha told Bodhisattva Mahasattva, faith in signs. The Buddha said, good man, you yourself previously said that among the names of past Buddhas, there is Jewel Victory Tathagata or Jewel Crest Tathagata. Jewel Crest and Jewel Victory are the same. Speaking of Jewel Crest Tathagata, suffering beings, upon hearing this Tathagata's name at the time of death were reborn in heaven. This we have already explained earlier. It is indeed very important whether we see people people or animals, sometimes when we see them at the moment of death, or even if they haven't died yet, all animals and humans, though they may not have died yet, we ourselves don't know when we will die either. So reciting the name of Jewel Crest Tathagata for others is all very important. Some of our Dharma friends have parents who don't believe in Buddhism their whole lives. When they're dying, you can ask to go down and see them. It's fine for you to go have a look. Because at the moment of death, they may not have the strength to oppose Buddhism. You can vigorously recite in their ear, Namo Ratna Shikin Buddha, my father, my mother, farewell, just like that. Indeed, everyone's family situation is different. Some Dharma friends are themselves devout Buddhists or are even monastics, but their own family members are firmly non-believers. But sometimes there's no need for us to force them, because the more you force them, the more resentful they may become. But occasionally, there will be some opportunities. In the ears of these beings who are especially kind to you, sometimes when we recite the name of Ratna Shikin Buddha, after they die, at least they won't fall into the 3 lower realms. Actually, not falling into the 3 lower realms is also very important. This is the content from earlier. The Buddha further told Bodhisattva faith in signs, now you have again requested me to teach the names of Buddhas. You previously requested me to teach the names of Buddhas, Sangha, and Dharma jewels from the 10 directions, enabling all beings to leave suffering and transcend the world. I have done this. Earlier, as I just explained, the Buddha, at the request of Bodhisattva faith in signs, taught the names and merits of the 3 jewels. The Buddha had already taught the names and merits of the 3 jewels. Through these conditions, countless beings left suffering, gained happiness, and attained liberation. Therefore, today I will comprehensively teach the 3 jewels for you, Bodhisattva faith in signs, and for other beings, present and future, in detail and comprehensively about the 3 jewels. As for the 3 jewels, in essence they are 1 jewel, but we speak of 3 to accord with beings. Regarding the 3 jewels, actually in essence, in ultimate meaning, all 3 jewels are 1 jewel, which can be included in the Buddha jewel. We will explain this below. The Uttara Tantra also explains this. The 3 jewels are actually the Buddha jewel, because the Dharma jewel and Sangha jewel are actually the Buddha jewel. The Buddha's body is the Sangha jewel, and his wisdom is all the Dharma jewel. In this way, in the ultimate sense, actually speaking of 1 jewel would suffice. We don't need 3 jewels to accord with beings, to accord with different beings, including beginners, Shravakas, and Pratyeka Buddhas. If we only speak of the Buddha jewel to them, they may not be able to accept it. So the Dharma jewel and Sangha jewel need to be taught separately. This is also found in the Nirvana Sutra. The Nirvana Sutra says that actually, in essence, there is only the Buddha jewel, but in order to liberate beings, we can separate the Dharma jewel and Sangha jewel. To accord with the world, we can speak of 3 jewels. In the Nirvana Sutra, this principle is explained quite extensively. It also gives some analogies, such as our head. Actually, it can control the entire body, but temporarily speaking, layer by layer, the limbs of the entire body can also be taught separately in the same way. The Buddha jewel, in the most ultimate sense, is 1 essence. Our head, the most important life force of the entire body, is also in the head. This is the meaning of the analogy. Below it says, if a person hears this, if anyone can hear the names of the 3 jewels and recollects and visualizes them with utmost sincerity. In this way, when some people's lifespans are nearing their end, when their lifespan is approaching the moment of death, they meet a good spiritual friend. This good spiritual friend for the dying being has them recite the names of the 3 jewels 3 times. Everyone should understand that if we ourselves feel like we're not doing well, at the moment of death we can recite the names of the 3 jewels ourselves. We can recite them to ourselves. That's fine. Or if you really cannot recite them yourself, you can have someone else recite for you. Recite Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the 3 jewels. This is also fine. Or if you see your relatives and friends or see some animals at the moment of death, at this time we should recite the names of the 3 jewels. How do we recite the names of the 3 jewels? We recite them like this. Namo Buddha, Namo Buddha, Namo Dharma, Namo Sangha. Namo Buddha, regarding Namo, generally it means to pay homage. Paying homage to Buddha, paying homage to Dharma, paying homage to Sangha, this meaning. But when translated, basically Namo is translated as taking refuge. In the Han region, there's a sutra called the Sutra of Ocean-like Wisdom Bodhisattvas Questions. When translating this, first using Sanskrit, it says Namo Buddha, Namo Dharma, Namo Sangha. In Chinese, Namo to Buddha means taking refuge in Buddha. Dharma means taking refuge in Dharma. Sangha means taking refuge in Sangha. In our Tibetan language, it's also like this. When translating directly, actually in our Tibetan, taking refuge in Buddha, this doesn't have Namo directly said in it. In the Sutra of Great Liberation, it's Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. But when we generally recite in Tibetan, it's the Lama isn't there. This in front was added by later great masters. In the actual sutra, it's generally speaking, Kyabsuchio means taking refuge. I'm thinking that our predecessors, these great masters, wouldn't be wrong about taking refuge and paying homage, but in meaning, as long as you pay homage, you are definitely taking refuge. So Namo is also part of taking refuge. As long as you pay homage, then you must be taking refuge. Otherwise, if you don't really want to take refuge but pay homage before them, that wouldn't be realistic. So in some contexts, taking refuge and paying homage should be the same meaning. When I want to take refuge, actually I want to pay homage. We often say Namo Buddha, Namo Dharma, or Namo such and such Tathagata. Some translations directly say homage to such and such Tathagata. For example, in the 35 Buddhas confession, it's all homage. In there, it doesn't say Kyab Su Chio. Like the 35 Buddhas confession, each one is Namo. In our Tibetan, it's also homage. But actually here, it also has the meaning of homage and the meaning of taking refuge. If our predecessors, now in our Tibetan, we generally don't say 4 homages, we say 4 refuges. We add one in front. Generally in Tibet, we wouldn't recite. Generally, we don't recite it this way. But in our Chinese, taking refuge in Buddha, taking refuge in Dharma, taking refuge in Sangha, this is also said. Namo Buddha, Namo Dharma, Namo Sangha is also fine. Actually, this is slightly in different translations, taking refuge and paying homage. Sometimes these two are together, sometimes these two are separate. But if they're separate, paying homage can be included in taking refuge. Perhaps it's better for us to understand it this way. Just now, the Buddha already explained that at that time, the Buddha told Bodhisattva, faith in science, your request has been fulfilled by my teaching. I have specifically taught the names of taking refuge in the 3 jewels. Have a good spiritual friend recite the names of the 3 jewels 3 times. After reciting in this way, whether chanting or reciting, sometimes we chant, sometimes we recite. By chanting in this way, when that person's life ends, they will not go to the 3 evil paths. 3-2 means the 3 evil realms. In some sources, the 3-2 are the 3 evil realms. The 3 evil realms are called the path of fire, path of blades, and path of blood. The path of fire is hell. In hell, there are burning fires that pierce and burn the bodies and minds of beings. So hell is called the path of fire. The path of blades in the hungry ghost realm, due to their karmic manifestations. Various weapons and blades cause them to kill each other, fighting over food and drink, experiencing immeasurable suffering. So hungry ghosts are called the path of blades. Then animals are called the path of blood. Because animals all prey on each other, the law of the jungle, the strong eating the weak. In the process of eating, they drink fresh blood, consuming fresh blood. So when we watch animal documentaries, indeed, animals can be called the path of blood. Blood everywhere, all drinking fresh blood and eating fresh flesh, killing each other this way. This should be clear. So here it explains that as long as we hear the names of the 3 jewels, we won't fall into the 3 evil realms. This is very important. The Lotus Sutra also says, if a person with a distracted mind enters a temple or stupa and recites Namo Buddha once, they will all together achieve the Buddha path. If with a distracted mind one enters a temple or stupa and simply says Namo Buddha, this person will not only avoid rebirth in the 3 evil realms, but gradually all will attain the Buddha path, achieving the Buddha path. Long ago there was a person cutting firewood who was chased by a tiger. In a tree he cried out once, Namo Buddha. Later, he also attained accomplishment. There are stories like this. So when we often encounter beings reciting the Buddha's name, this cannot be underestimated. It's very important. There's also the Sutra of Contemplation on Buddha Samadhi Ocean. It should have been translated by Buddhabhadra. It should be from the Eastern Jin period. Actually, I've been checking whether this exists in Tibetan. If not, I'd like to translate it. But it's quite long, 10 volumes. Actually, there are many wonderful stories in it. At that time, after the Buddha attained enlightenment, he returned to Kapilavastu and taught his father, the king, and others, teaching them how to visualize the Buddha. This is very important in the Sutra teachings. It has a meaning similar to generation stage practice. It's roughly a sutra with this kind of meaning. This sutra says that during the Dharma semblance period of Vipassana Buddha, there was an elder. He was a very devout Buddhist practitioner, but his children were not like this. He had 500 children who, from a worldly perspective, were skilled in literature and art, including astronomy and mathematics. They were proficient in everything, extremely intelligent. But they had no faith in the Buddha whatsoever. The elder himself was often a devout Buddhist. He had these children visualize Buddha images and the Buddha's mind, and then had them practice the 12 links of dependent arising. But not only did these children refuse to learn, they even said their father, the king, must have been seduced and deceived by those bald-headed monks. They said, "In all the knowledge we have studied in the world, there is no such thing as Buddhist truth." Many young people in the world today are also like this. Many young people feel that their parents have been deceived by some Buddhists. There's nothing to it. They often say this too. Then they simply refuse to learn. Later, after the father saw their situation, if he forcefully urged them to study, they might lose faith and create even greater karma. He concealed all the Dharma teachings. He temporarily didn't tell them. Later, these children suddenly, at the same time, contracted a very serious illness. At that time, the father felt especially sorry for them. He loved them very much in his heart. Then he personally went before each son, crying and begging them to recite the name of this Tathagata, to recite the Buddha's name. At this time, actually, they still didn't want to recite in their hearts, but because of their father's nobility and their respect for him, some of them recited. At that time, the father had them recite the names of the three jewels, but they all didn't recite them. Some because their illness was perhaps quite severe. Later, some of them recited Namo Buddha. Perhaps the following Namo Dharma, Namo Sangha, they couldn't finish reciting. At this time, their lives ended. After their lives ended, they were reborn in the realm of the four great kings. So from this account, we can see that even people who have various wrong views throughout their life, if at the moment of death they hear the names of the three jewels, even if it's not all three jewels, but just the Buddha jewel or Dharma jewel among them, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, even if they don't hear all the way to the end, they also won't fall into the lower realms. This is very important. So after we study these teachings in our daily lives, we should put them into practice. We are also very fortunate. Otherwise, we might not even hear a single Buddha's name. This is a real possibility. So here, not falling into the three evil realms after hearing the names of the three jewels, according to one's own wishes and aspirations, one can be reborn in worlds throughout the 10 directions. Whether you want to go to the Western Pure Land of bliss, the Eastern Abhirati Pure Land, or the land of Shambhala, to whichever world according to your own thoughts, however you make aspirations, you can be reborn in pure lands in any way. And after arriving there, one has the opportunity to frequently attend upon or serve and attend all the Tathagatas from east, south, west, north, and all directions. And one can meet all the great Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, like Manjushra Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, and before Manjushra Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, and so on. Before these Bodhisattvas, one can hear the Mahayana, the great vast Vaipulya that they teach. That is to say, this sutra of great liberation, because in all the great pure lands, these Bodhisattvas, especially Manjushra Bodhisattva and Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, are especially skilled at transmitting reciting the Sutra of Great Liberation. So for some of us this time, if the transmission really isn't complete, if you didn't hear clearly or didn't hear it, then you should often recite Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. This way, after you die, later before Manjushra Bodhisattva, he'll give you the supplementary transmission. This is quite good, right? This is explained very clearly here. It's not me saying this. The only condition is that earlier, at the moment of death, you heard this. Last time everyone had such great aspiration. If they haven't finished listening yet, when you meet them, if they say, my Sutra of Great Liberation transmission was cut off, what should I do? You tell them, come here, I'll transmit a teaching to you. Namo Buddha, Namo Dharma, Namo Sangha. Okay, you can go back now. Later, Manjushra Bodhisattva will supplement it for you. I've already given you the note. This is what the Buddha said. Before Manjushra and Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas, after hearing the Sutra of Great Liberation, after hearing the Dharma, one immediately attains the patience of non-arising dharmas. At that time, one attains what should be from the first Bodhisattva ground to the 8th Bodhisattva ground. There's also a patience of non-arising on the path of preparation. But at this time, it should be a very high patience of non-arising, the patience of non-arising that realizes emptiness is attained. The Buddha told the good man, if a person for vast kalpas extensively cultivates all practices and deeply plants good roots, today they are able to hear the names of the 3 jewels. For some people, throughout many lifetimes and kalpas, vast kalpas means throughout many lifetimes and kalpas, they extensively cultivated all kinds of practices, like the 6 paramitas and 10,000 practices. These Mahayana practitioners, because they planted especially supreme and profound good roots, today are able to hear the Sutra of Great Liberation or the names of the 3 jewels. Indeed, this does not come easily. In this lifetime, we are extremely fortunate. We have all encountered Mahayana Dharma, and we have heard the names of the 3 jewels. Sometimes we look at it as if it were a chance opportunity. By chance, I met a certain teacher. By chance, I encountered a certain sutra. Actually, it's not by chance. This should be because throughout many lifetimes and kalpas you accumulated merit and, one should say, dispelled karmic obscurations, that you can attain this. It's the same in this life. We have attained it. I'm not talking about extensive study and practice. Truly hearing a single Buddha's name is extremely, extremely difficult. In the Han region's Forest of Pearls in the Dharma Garden, there are also many scriptural teachings and citations from sutras. Among them is a verse, better to receive all suffering and hear the Buddha's voice than to receive all happiness and not hear the Buddha's name. I think this is very good. We would rather receive all suffering but attain the Buddha's name, the Buddha's title. This is extremely fortunate. We wouldn't want to enjoy all the worldly various kinds of human and heavenly happiness but not hear the Buddha's name. That would be especially regrettable. Sometimes when we go to Africa, to the Americas, including Europe and such, in terms of worldly enjoyment, it's really quite good. Maybe not in Africa, but other places are still quite good. But indeed in their lifetime they simply cannot hear any Buddha's name at all. Sometimes I feel it's especially pitiful. Previously, when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche went to America and Canada, on one hand he greatly praised their environment, their living conditions at that time, and their science and technology. But on the other hand, most people cannot hear even a single Buddha's name, cannot see even a single Buddha image. A whole lifetime might pass this way. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also deeply sighed many times about this. I think we too, in this life, if we encounter some suffering, as long as we don't separate from the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, it should be acceptable. I hope many of our Dharma friends, during the process of study, should overcome all difficulties and suffering. Don't abandon your own faith. This is very important. Don't give up your study and practice. This is very important. Actually, sometimes encountering a little difficulty, encountering a little suffering is not necessarily bad for you. It's actually very good for you. It's also a kind of growth. Sometimes we deliberately create such suffering. This is also necessary for seeking the Dharma. For example, in my case, every day now, in order to teach class, I also need to deal with many things, because to free up afternoon time, to free up evening time, here sometimes I have to handle many, many things. Then going up and down, I roughly calculated that every day, going up and down. It's about 3 or 4 times, at the very least, walking about 3 or 4 kilometers. But this is also very good. Now, for many people, this is a kind of exercise, but this is also a kind of ascetic practice. I myself think of it this way. So for listening to Dharma teachings, some people are especially lazy. Listening to teachings, don't go listen, don't go study, don't do this or that. They give themselves many reasons. Actually, it shouldn't be like this. This time, it's truly a rare opportunity for us all to study together, to practice together. Even hearing a single Buddha's name throughout many lifetimes and kalpas, it's extremely, extremely rare. Among all supremacies, the 3 jewels are the most supreme. The Fundamental Matter Sutra also teaches the most supreme are 3 kinds, namely Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By generating pure faith, one can see the most supreme Dharma. The most supreme things in the world are 3 kinds, namely the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the 3 jewels. Then, by relying on our pure faith to take refuge and practice, we can see in this very life the most supreme Dharma. Actually, if our mind can see the most supreme, the best Dharma, it brings us lasting happiness. Otherwise, if our mind has not seen the most supreme Dharma, whatever our body can touch, or whatever most beautiful things our 5 senses can obtain, these are unreliable in the end. Just like we discussed the other day, as the Uttara Tantra teaches, at first a lotus flower is very beautiful and lovely, but later it withers and doesn't look good. Many of our worldly sensual pleasures are just like lotus flowers this way. So lotus flowers, indeed, they are not truly joyful. After seeing them now, in the future, please don't bring me flowers. Now when I see flowers, I feel a bit annoyed because very quickly they wither, very quickly they decay. After they decay, I don't feel comfortable inside either. At first too, maybe when one gets old, there's no feeling. Previously, when I wrote Footprints on the Journey, I especially loved flowers. But now, after flowers arrive, very quickly, it seems too much water doesn't work, too little doesn't work either. All those many flowers by my window are all like this. They make me generate a sense of impermanence. I too will be like this. Just now at noon I told them, take all these withered flowers out. They also do it deliberately. They often place withered flowers before me. So these worldly things, relying on external things to satisfy ourselves, is truly very difficult. If our mind has refuge in the 3 jewels and faith, this is a truly joyful thing. The Buddha taught them the names of the 3 jewels for this reason as well. At this time, Bodhisattva, faith in signs, addressed the Buddha, saying to the Buddha like this, "World-honored one, what are called the 3 jewels? Are the 3 jewels one aspect, or 2 aspects, or 3 aspects? One aspect refers to one essence. Are the 3 jewels one essence, 2 aspects, or 3 aspects? If you say the 3 jewels are one aspect, this Bodhisattva, faith in signs, began debating with the Buddha. If you say the 3 jewels are one aspect, one essence, then it's one refuge, not called 3 refuges. If it's 3 aspects, then it's 3 refuges. We shouldn't call it one refuge. I take refuge in the 3 jewels." You shouldn't say it this way. They need to be separated. These 3 refugees, actually Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, are distinct entities. If you say the 3 refugees are separate, then Buddha is one essence, Dharma is one essence, and Sangha is also thus. The Sangha is also a distinct entity. In this way, all 3 of them are separately distinct entities with no relationship to each other. If truly these 3 refuges, if the 3 jewels are distinct entities and the 3 refugees are also distinct entities, then beings see that throughout 3 asamkhya kalpas of practicing the path, they don't meet with the one vehicle. Below is also a kind of reasoning. The meaning is beings throughout 3 asamkhya kalpas. 3 ye kalpas. In Tibetan, it says 3 asamkhya kalpas. Throughout 3 asamkhya kalpas, the path they practice is separate. Perhaps it doesn't mean that because of 3 ye kalpas, they won't become one vehicle. That's not this reasoning. The meaning should be, if you say the 3 jewels are separately distinct entities, if they are distinct entities, then beings see that throughout 3 asamkhya kalpas, the 3 refugees are separate. Throughout 3 asamkhya kalpas, if all 3 refugees are practiced and cultivated separately in this way, then in the end it's impossible to become one vehicle, because throughout these 3 asamkhya kalpas, they all practice the path of 3 refugees, all 3, not one. For such a long time, all practicing possessing three distinct essences. If this is so, then in the end, when attaining Buddhahood or when attaining the first Bodhisattva ground, how can you establish the ultimate one vehicle? Because for such a long time, cultivating three essences in the end becoming one essence is unreasonable. So regarding this question, I only wish the world-honored one for the benefit of beings would explain this to me. For me, Bodhisattva faith in signs and others. Could you please tell us? After I hear it, I will also explain it in detail for beings. After I hear it, if I truly have no doubts about this matter and understand it clearly, then in the future I will also wholeheartedly be able to teach the principle of the three jewels to beings of different capacities. This is one aspect. There's another aspect. After the Buddha's passing into extinction, he's still very direct in saying, if we were ordinary worldly people, you give me a teaching, and after you die, I also... If it's more convenient to say it this way, perhaps they wouldn't necessarily be happy, but the Buddha should be very tolerant and wouldn't mind after your passing into extinction, how and what. Saying to the Buddha, after your passing into extinction, if someone asks about the names of the three jewels, then they too can abide in the three Bodhi. In Tibetan, it's supreme enlightenment, three Bodhi. We can also say it this way. The meaning is, if you explain the aspects of the three jewels to me according to my circumstances, I can also teach beings. After the Buddha's passing into extinction, if people hear the names of the three jewels, they too will be able to abide in supreme enlightenment. If you explain it very well now, these beings in the future, after the Buddha's passing into extinction, because the Buddha taught the merits of the three jewels, they too will diligently cultivate. So Bodhisattva faith in signs posed this question to the Buddha. Next, below, the Buddha told Bodhisattva faith in signs. The Buddha praised Bodhisattva faith in signs. Excellent, excellent. You see, not only was he not unhappy, he was very excellent, excellent. If we have some Dharma teachers among us who say, please explain something to me after you die, this Dharma teacher might not necessarily praise him. You're talking about after I die. What business is it of yours? Might it be like this? Here it says the Buddha especially praised Bodhisattva faith in signs. Excellent, excellent, lasso, lasso. He said, good man, you are able to ask the Buddha about great matters. You ask about great matters of the Buddha, extremely important matters. To ask such extremely important matters is truly remarkable, truly good. Asking about great matters of the Buddha, asking about such great matters of the Buddha's merit and activities. This is not the realm of first ground bodhisattvas, nor of second ground bodhisattvas, nor of third ground, fourth ground, or fifth ground bodhisattvas, all the way up to seventh ground and eighth ground bodhisattvas, because to ask like this, we see it as very simple. Some of our Dharma friends who haven't attained the grounds might also think, I can also ask this. It doesn't require a first ground bodhisattva. You don't even need the path of preparation or accumulation. I can ask these questions. This is very simple. Is it one essence or distinct entities? If it's one essence, what are the faults? If it's three essences, what was cultivated throughout three asamkhya kalpas in the end cannot become the ultimate one vehicle. Also, after the Buddha's passing into nirvana, if you teach it, it will benefit beings. I can also ask these things. Many people might think this way, but actually it's not like this. Only 10th ground bodhisattvas, such great questions. Only 10th ground bodhisattvas can. 10th ground dharma, cloud, great beings. Some old dharma teachers say 10th ground bodhisattvas, great beings personally see. Dharma body, great beings like this. Below it says such questions only 10th ground dharma, cloud, ground great bodhisattvas can ask such great matters, can ask the Buddha about such great matters. Now listen carefully, I will teach it to you. Now listen carefully, I will explain it to you. Below begins the teaching on the classification and merits of the three jewels. Good man, all beings, from beginningless kalpas, obscured by ignorance, imprisoned in the three realms, flowing in birth and death. First, it explains what the three jewels are like. All beings in the great trichiliocosm from beginningless kalpas, in Tibetan, from beginningless time, these beings from beginningless time have been obscured by the afflictions of ignorance. In the three realms, like a prison, like a jail, they continuously undergo birth and death, flowing without cease, always like this. And in this process, they are oppressed and gathered by various terrors, afflictions and sufferings. From the heavenly realms above to the hells below, all beings of the six paths revolve and transmigrate, coming and going, always without a refuge, without a protector, without a place of dependence. Even for these reasons, most of them take refuge in worldly gods. Some take refuge in worldly Shvara, Vishnu, Brahma, various kinds of worldly gods, and some cast their lot with non-Buddhist paths. Casting their lot with non-Buddhists means depending on or taking refuge in non-Buddhist paths. In the process of taking refuge in non-Buddhist paths, they bind their own hands and feet. They bind themselves entirely, their hands and feet completely lacking freedom. Moreover, they harm life seeking to preserve life, harming other beings to rescue themselves, to preserve their own lives. But unable to escape present troubles, that is to say, it's very difficult to avoid all the calamities of that time, or very difficult to attain liberation. Although you take refuge in worldly gods, take refuge in non-Buddhist paths, and then in body and mind perform various kinds of ascetic practices, torments, doing all sorts of things, but actually unable to escape present troubles, difficult to escape from the cycle of the three realms, the suffering and torment of that time. Moreover, they rush into fire and plunge into abysses. Here there's a slight difference, and what else is there? Bihuo tu yuan, avoiding fire, plunging into abysses. In the Sutra and in several other versions it's said this way, but in the two Dunhuang versions it's fu huo tu yuan, rushing into fire, plunging into abysses. Fu means to go toward. The meaning is to go into a sea of fire. Tu yuan means to plunge into a deep abyss. This meaning, even for the sake of their own satisfaction, they brave scalding water and tread through fire. Yet all fail to escape troubles, but all cannot attain true liberation. Just like in the Mahayana Sutra Lamkara, it also says, plunging into abysses, rushing into fire, and so on. These are not practices of virtue. These are done by non-Buddhists, fruitlessly enduring suffering. Plunging into abysses, rushing into fire, and so on. It also has this there. Actually, this rushing into fire and plunging into yuan, this yuan also has the meaning of great ocean and also the meaning of deep abyss. In order to obtain some happiness and satisfaction, sometimes they take refuge in various worldly spirits and ghosts. Sometimes they cast their lot with various worldly non-Buddhist paths. Then in body or in mind they perform various kinds of ascetic practices. But these ascetic practices not only cannot resolve your suffering, but because they are not virtuous practices, even temporary happiness cannot be obtained. All the methods used by non-Buddhists, in the end they are indeed futile and fruitless. Sometimes when we see the various religions in the world, we indeed generate even firmer faith in our fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. We have even greater faith in our own teacher. Of course, those without faith or those who don't believe in Buddhism might also think this is an unreasonable statement. Of course, this can also be understood because each of the world's various religions considers itself to be very good, but we indeed, it's not just because of faith that we think our religion is the best, but relying on our own wisdom, relying on our predecessors' very solid evidence and wisdom, we think this way. The Buddha told us that from beginningless time, beings have had no refuge, and most of them rely on other religions or other worldly gods. But because, as it says in the 37 practices of a bodhisattva, they themselves are bound by karma and afflictions in samsara, lacking freedom, how much less can they liberate other beings? It's the same with worldly gods. It's the same with these so-called teachers in the human realm. Without the wisdom of true selflessness, it's very difficult to attain liberation in the world. Precisely because of this, the Buddha tells us that the great sage, the fundamental teacher, the Buddha, arose from the samadhi of compassion. Here, AI should be a kind of compassion, arose from the samadhi of compassion. Out of compassion for beings lost on the long road of samsara in the three realms, he taught the names and merits of the three jewels, because indeed in our world only the three jewels are our true refuge. Just as the Vimaladatta Paripracha Sutra also says, there is no other refuge that can rescue beings. Only Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, the three jewels, can rescue. This teaching is also very good. If we in the three realms truly want to rescue beings, there is nothing else. No one else can save us. In the end, no one can save us. Only Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in our long samsara can truly rescue us. So taking refuge in the three jewels is a very good choice as a true refuge. Below it explains, yes, just now, opening and revealing the three jewels as the true place of refuge. This above is acceptable. I'm sorry. Below it explains what is refuge like. Initially, for beginning students of the two vehicles, here there's a character mo. Initially, for beginning and ending students, this mo is also not in Tibetan. It's also not in some Dunhuang versions. The extra character mo should not be used. The meaning is that out of compassion, the Buddha taught us that the three jewels are the true refuge. This refuge, is it one essence or three essences, as mentioned just before? Below, the Buddha begins to answer this question. Initially, for beginners, that is to say, for the Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha vehicles, the Buddha already taught it like a ladder, like steps. The distinct aspect, three jewels. Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are taught separately. As in the Mahayana Compendium and many others, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are taught separately. For those who have long cultivated pure conduct, great beings, not those who have been monastics for just a day or two. Whether Mahayana or should be Mahayana, those who for a long time have cultivated pure conduct for a very long time, before Mahayana practitioners, great beings, the Buddha taught the ultimate one essence, three jewels. Within the one essence of Buddha, there are the Dharma jewel and Sangha jewel. Isn't it said in the Uttara Tantra? In the ultimate sense, the refuge of all beings is only the Buddha. Because he is the Dharma body of the able one, the Sangha ultimately is also that. Because in the truly ultimate sense, the refuge of beings is only the Buddha. Because he is the most ultimate Dharma body, the Dharma jewel and Sangha jewel can also be included within. We already finished explaining this earlier. We taught the Uttara Tantra last year. It was already explained there. So in the most ultimate sense, there is only one, the Buddha jewel. The Buddha told Bodhisattva Faith in Signs, "Good man, why is it called jewel?" For example, the 7 treasures of the world can sustain life. The world's gold, silver, agate, coral, mother of pearl, the crises of our world they can rescue. Gold, silver, and treasures now internationally. Gold is used as such and such, US dollars as such and such, renminbi as such and such. Money, external material 7 treasures actually can truly rescue the difficulties in our beings' lives. Originally called 7 treasures, now money is also called a treasure. If you have 10,000 yen in your card, you have 10,000 treasures. Today I saw someone from Lhasa who came asking me to recite a Fowa practice. I recited it for him. In a very deep place inside here, he took out a bag containing a round silver coin. At that time, my heart ached. This should be properly placed inside a Buddha statue or something. Otherwise, when he dies, he'll be attached to it and won't even know. Because you see, some people are extremely attached to money. Whether it's money, silver coins, or gold coins, extremely attached. I believe this person must have for many years treated it as a treasure, like a protective amulet. Now many people, especially elderly people, wrap money in all kinds of things. It's the same in the Han region. Some old grandmothers and grandfathers hide all their money away. In the end, when they die, no one knows. They themselves in the end become a small insect inside that money. This is called a treasure, the 7 treasures of gold, silver, and money. Why are these gold, silver, and treasures called treasures? Because they can rescue beings from material difficulties. Why is it called the 3 jewels? The reason it's called the 3 jewels, what can they do? Nourish the Dharma body, continue the practitioner's wisdom life. The 3 jewels nourish the Dharma body. The Dharma body means we have no happiness whatsoever, forever in the state of unconditioned phenomena. This is the highest spiritual realm of happiness. Dharma body, perhaps you don't understand. Actually, there is no worldly happiness whatsoever. In the end, attaining the unconditioned state, this is called Dharma body, or we can continue, extend our wisdom life. Our wisdom continuously grows, because by relying on the 3 jewels, we can truly attain spiritual happiness, attain spiritual wealth, forever leave behind the poverty of this life. Most people nowadays are spiritually poor. A portion are materially poor, those who indeed cannot afford to eat or dress, but quite a portion. Some have depression, some have various syndromes. These people feel they are very lonely in this world. Even many people choose suicide. The reason is that in our hearts we have no faith, no refuge in our hearts, no recognition of the mind's true nature. For this reason, our mind is like a wilderness, nothing reliable inside at all. Those of us who have faith, truly attaining a kind of mental recognition of the mind's original face. At this time, whether you have things or not, it's fine. Many things, you already possess them. You yourself are a spiritually wealthy person. This is very important. Truly now more and more we're all on an isolated island. Many people are on a spiritual island without a refuge. Many people now are truly very pitiful. Why do so many people in big cities now have loneliness syndrome, have depression, or various kinds of mental problems? The fundamental reason is we don't recognize the mind, have no faith, no refuge. So here, why is it called the three jewels? Everyone must understand worldly treasures dispel suffering in material life, whereas the three jewels we take refuge in are indeed. Many people often say, the reason I took refuge in the three jewels is that I had the opportunity for spiritual revival. Some people are very grateful to their teachers and Dharma masters. Why? Because when they were in the most painful times, when their hearts had the least to rely on, they gave them a kind of comfort, gave them hope and liberation. This is the three jewels. Everyone should understand this. Let me see how much more there is to teach. Let's stop here for now. What was just said was, nourish the Dharma body, continue the practitioner's wisdom life. This is called jewel. This is a general explanation of the three jewels. Below, the characteristics of each of the three jewels will be explained separately.
Sonam dei tamse vogaya tone de dhamma pasi tirgana jirano chupai chupun sonen droa droa
bandangara badna Sodargye bandangara badna Sodargye bandangara badna Sodargye